And we've got Andre Cilliers to help us break down those numbers, and he's from TreasuryOne. Andre, as always, thanks for your time this afternoon. Overall market performance today, JSE closing flat. We're seeing commodities like Brent crude, which I promise you make me want to pull my hair out every time I see Brent crude about 4% in the green, Andre. And then, of course, the local unit doing better against major global currencies. Your thought on some of the major catalysts that would have contributed to these movements?
Well, if you start, you mentioned the oil price and the nerve-wracking situation about when you see 3 and 4%. We must not forget that it came down by 6.5% yesterday, and so a bit of a rebound is to be expected. All to do with lockdowns, and there was a bigger build-up of reserves in America that was released last week, and with the lockdowns and the third wave coming in, the demand side is lower, and that's hence why we've seen the oil price coming down quite a bit from just above the 70s to where it is currently, around 62.5, 60 to 60. But yeah, makes big moves and causes some jitters, but the lower oil price at this stage bodes well for us in South Africa, because we are in for quite a substantial price hike due to the higher oil price that at the 70 levels that it reached earlier in the week, in the month, and together also with the increase on fuel levies and so forth announced by the minister. So yes, the lower oil price helps us. The rand, surprisingly vigilant against a much stronger dollar over the last couple of days. But that's been the situation through all the emerging markets, where we see that the emerging markets is not really responding so much to the stronger dollar. And then one wonders whether that is because of the seemingly stronger dollar or the very weak euro because of the COVID-19 increase in infections over there and the lockdowns that they're imposing. But I do think that emerging markets will play a little bit catch up in the next couple of days, and we could see a little bit of weakening, especially on the rand.
I want to get two companies through very briefly, Andre. The first one, Netcare and the trouble in Lesotho, significant partnership that they've got there with that hospital that they've cancelled. And I just want to know, how significant is this move by Lesotho authorities against Netcare?
The statement's been released, and it's on the website of Netcare, and I've carefully read through that statement. And it puts the sort of, I almost want to say, one-sided view from the Lesotho government into perspective from a Netcare point of view. And if you really look at through that statement, then Netcare is the one that injected a lot of cash into the partnership until such time as the payments is received by the government of Lesotho. So, you know, without a Netcare doing that, the future of the hospital and the partnership, yes, is, I think, in jeopardy. But whether it will have such a dramatic impact on the share price and income of Netcare as a group, I doubt that. But it is a pity that they are being dragged through the news on the affair.
Well, and then finally, Andre, developments around Steinhoff coming in throughout the course of the day yesterday, the insurance payments that are going to be happening, as well as the South African Reserve Bank being sued because they allowed Steinhoff to let assets go through overseas, even though they were technically insolvent.
Yeah, interesting case that's being brought against the Reserve Bank. We'll have to see how that one develops. I must also say there that the case is being brought to the courts by the former chairman of the Petco Group, and he's had gripes with Steinhoff for quite some time. Whether you can really hold the Reserve Bank responsible for that, I very much doubt that. I've also seen that Mr. Visa is now in terms of the agreement that is accepted or proposed by Petco, he cannot be sued, and so also the one other gentleman in Germany. What is his name now? It sort of skips me. Sorry, it skips me for the moment.
No worries.
But two gentlemen on the list that of people that cannot be directors that cannot be sued in their personal capacity. That's because they accepted and signed the proposal for the settlement as proposed by Steinhoff. Now, Mr. Biza is gets preferential treatment in that whole agreement and gets quite a bit more as a percentage of what was initially lost. He gets back. But interesting news, the whole Steinhoff saga is an interesting one. And I have my own views on that, and maybe I should rather not speak out too much about that.
That might be a little bit controversial.
You as a shareholder invest in a company. You have to do your due diligence. You have to decide whether you accept the risk and up to what point you accept the risk.
Right.
And, there's been rumors about this thing a lot. But let's just leave that one there. I think it's a whole interesting saga. I think the fact that Steinhoff had made a proposal in, paying out money, that Deloitte and Touche has come forward, that insurance companies have come forward, and that people will actually get something back. I think that's
very positive developments indeed. Andre Cilliers from TreasuryOne giving us a wrap of the market stage.